Hey there, I'm Lauren Blakely, and I am super excited to be here today at Kindle's Crew and sharing some thoughts with you. I've got some questions in advance that Kindle supplied to me, so I'm just going to go through them and hopefully answer some of your questions about why I'm writing romance and what drew me to the genre. And I am just grateful that so many of you have questions. And if I don't answer your question or you have more questions, just leave them in the comments and I'll pop back throughout the day in the next few days and be sure to answer them. So the first few questions are what inspired me to write my first romance, A Guy Walks Into My Bar, and what changed or made me take the leap. I had contemplated writing in the gay romance genre for a while, and I had even toyed with it about 3 or 4 years ago. I had a novella that I was thinking about, but I don't think I knew enough about the genre. I don't think I had read enough about the genre, read enough in the genre. And I think I finally felt after about 7 years as a reader that I liked the genre and I was finally ready to move forward. And I also just had characters who inspired me. I wanted to tell their love story, which is basically a story about what would you do for love? How far would you go for love? What would you change in your life? So another question is, what do I prefer, MF or MM? That is a great question, and quite honestly, it's whatever I'm writing at the time. If I am not interested in the story, then I don't want to be writing it. So if my schedule says, oh, it's time to write Scoring with Him, which is my next romance that comes out in a couple weeks, then that's the story that inspires me and the story that I want to be in. I like them both for different reasons. So generally, if I'm deciding to write a book, I want to be writing it, whether it's got two guys or a man and a woman. The next question is, how is it different writing MM and MF, and which one engages me more? Well, they both engage me. I think one of the biggest differences is the dialogue and the banter. I recently finished an MF romance, and my editor said, it was a scene with a bunch of female friends, she's like, oh my god, we're back to your girl banter again, this is so much fun. And of course it's different from the guy banter. And that's an important thing to really, I think, stay focused on, is making sure that the way the characters are talking, the way they're narrating is authentic to who they are. The next question is, what inspired me to tackle a baseball duet? Because that's my next release, Scoring with Him and Winning with Him. I love baseball. I have been a baseball fan for decades now. And I think athletes are hot, so I really like writing athletes. So I was like, this is kind of candy for Lauren to be writing two hot athletes who are really into each other. And I think there's lots of challenges too. It had just incredible natural conflicts about two athletes who are on the same team and are falling for each other. So it was just like so yummy to dig into that. The next question is, do I have any plans to intersperse MM with my other MF books and series? And likewise, do I go back to old series and introduce new characters who may be MM? I don't really do that because generally when I finish a series, I'm for the most part done with it. But definitely, almost all of my gay romances have characters that were also supporting characters in a straight romance. So there's definitely crossover. I don't always put them together in a series, but the character of Grant, for instance, he's the Kutcher in the Men of Summer series. He appeared as a supporting character in the Virgin Rulebook and in the Virgin Game Plan, which are MF romances that already came out. Somebody asks, who is my favorite all-time character, and says, I really like your Big Rock series. Thank you. I can't pick a favorite, that's not fair, but I guess if I have to, it would be Shortcake, who is an adorable chihuahua in The Only One. I also really like the character of Inspector Poirot in Asking for a Friend, who is a super, super cute chihuahua min pin character. For me, Kendall Alexander, I like the natural angst that comes from writing MM. The emotion really tugs at my heart and brings out a side of me that adds a depth. I can't get to that with anything else. I think that as long as you have, at least for me, as long as the storyline is there and it's working, I think that's where, for me, the emotion comes from. But you're not wrong. I definitely think there is an inherent natural angst in the genre. And my big dog Violet agrees. She's like, wait, wasn't I a character in a book somewhere? Okay, so another question is, I have such a wide range of stories. Where do ideas come from? Hopefully they fall from the sky magically, or the idea tree out in the backyard. Seriously, they just come from life and all around you. I think if you operate as sort of a sponge, you will pick up on an interesting thing somebody says. Maybe it's a news story. Maybe there's another book that has like the spark of a concept or a character that makes you think, well, what would happen in this or that situation? A few days ago on a Sunday morning, I was lying in bed and I was just thinking like, what if I wanted to revisit this particular series? I'm not going to say which one. Oh, it'd be a great story idea. And actually the story idea that I'm going to be revisiting was inspired by stories that I hear from my teenagers and college-age children about online dating. So more on that to come. Somebody else says, I find Lauren's books to be the most swoony. Thank you. She has great banter between her characters, but she's seen some of my videos too, and she's kind of like that in real life. Mr. Blakely, my husband, is shooting this video. Am I super swoony in real life?
Nothing but swoony.
See? There you go. Thank you, Meredith, for asking that. Am I just wonderful, Mr. Blakely, as the characters in my book?
You have to actually tone it down.
Tone it down.
Yes. You're so swoony.
I know. It's hard for him to just walk around me all the time because he just kind of like wants to swoon for me constantly. Well, but he's so swoony too. Anyway, another person says, I love the humor in your books. Is your humor as sharp as what you write? No, I mean, because every scene has been gone over 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 times. You have to refine a joke. You have to really play with it. So I would love to be like that naturally fabulous in real life when I'm on the mark. I'm not going to say every line hits the mark, but when they're funny, it's usually because, you've gone over it with a scalpel. What is my writing process like? I butt in the chair and I just go. I generally have a word count goal every day. Sometimes it's 2,000 words, sometimes it's 5,000, and I'm just I have a lot of focus, so I just get in there and I do it. Another question is, how many total books do I have? I think around 80-ish. I have been writing full time for about 7 or 8 years. Do I still get nervous releasing new books? Oh my God, like every time I wake up, I'm like, oh my God, do people hate it? Do they like it? Does anybody want it? It's terrifying every single time. Terrifying and thrilling. I guess it's like, I don't know, some extreme sport. I feel like writing is kind of an extreme sport, not in a hang gliding type of way. Things I will never do. How many lists have I made? I have been on the New York Times, I think 14 times. I've been on USA Today a little over 50, and that's really a thrill. I'm very grateful, and I appreciate my readers so much. They are wonderful. Do I have any strange writing habits? Mr. Blakely, do I have any strange writing habits?
You move around a lot throughout the day.
Oh, that is true. Yeah, I'm a little bit like a dog seeking a spot of sunshine in the afternoon. I can just sort of, like, he won't, when he's looking for me, doesn't always know where to find me. Sometimes I'm on a couch, sometimes I'm on a yoga ball, sometimes I'm standing up at my desk, sometimes I can be found, like, in the backyard. Every now and then, I'll write wherever I need to write. What's my favorite eating snack? Honestly, I don't actually snack really while I'm writing. If I do, it's like an apple or popcorn. I mostly just drink tea and just keep going. I've got to keep the fuel and the gas tank full. Do I prefer sweet or savory? I like popcorn and chocolate chip cookies. Do I research, act out the sex scenes in my books? Well, I am married to a man, so if we're acting out the sex scenes, there are certain things that might appear in an MM romance that I could do, and certain things that we couldn't do. For the MF romances, Mr. Blakely?
I'm all there for you, babes.
Very willing participant. I will say that Mr. Blakely gets a little extra action while I am proofing the MM audiobooks. Okay, you heard it here. What do I do for relaxation? I don't really relax. It's not really my thing. Maybe I take a nap once a week. Have I met Sebastian York in person? I have not. I haven't even ever spoken to him on the phone, but I do think he's fantastic. I am so grateful for all the books he's narrated for me, and he might be on an upcoming one soon. Stay tuned for more details. Okay, 2 more questions. What is my process for audio? I have such intricate audiobooks. What made you such an audio fan? I love theater. I've always been a huge fan of the theater, going to plays, going to musicals especially. I've done that my whole life. Some of my fondest memories growing up are when my dad took me to the first production I ever saw, which was Fiddler on the Roof, and I was just kind of transfixed with the spectacle of the theater. So I've always enjoyed being a spectator, listening, watching, and musicals especially are sort of like one of my great passions in life. So I think audiobooks fulfill that to some degree. Like I'm obviously the writer of the books, but then I get to be the producer as well. So I sort of feel like I'm like putting on a show, and that's fun. And I mostly consume books through audio. I really, really enjoy that experience of having a story sort of performed, read, and acted. So it's very much a natural fit to do fun things with my audiobooks. And by fun things, sometimes it's just really researching and making sure absolutely the right narrator is cast for the part. How do I pick my narrators? Do I write with the narrator's voice in my head? Absolutely. I definitely have some favorites. The Men of Summer series is narrated by Teddy Hamilton and Jacob Morgan. They are amazing. They sound great together. They have great chemistry. And I think they just are, they do such a great job at really understanding the text and the story and the emotions and what I'm trying to convey. And I laughed, I swooned, I cried. I hope you all do too. And in terms of how I pick them, especially with I really try to make sure that there is great chemistry, and also that each narrator can do, well, clearly a very good hero voice, but he also has to do a great job at the other hero's voice. So you've got to find a male narrator who can have like 2 sexy male voices in him effectively to sound good together. So that's something that I spend a lot of time listening to the narrators, and listening to one right after the other to make sure they're going to sound good together. And I've got a couple more planned for next year, 2022. I'm in the process of casting them, so hopefully I'll get to share some new narrator pairs with all of you soon. And thank you for watching. If you have other questions, leave comments, and I will just type the answers to them later today and over the weekend. So thank you so much, and happy Pride Month.